Summer is approaching and it's peak travel season. Nearly 3 million people passed through TSA checkpoints just yesterday. But Chris Van Cleve reports the airlines are starting to feel the impact of tariffs, and they warn it could soon cost you a lot more to fly.
International travel to the United States is expected to slide by 5% this year, contributing to a $64 billion shortfall for the industry.
Can you believe it? It's summer 2025, and the United States isn't the tourism hotspot it used to be. What was once the world's most popular destination has become eerily quiet. Airports that once bustled with excited travelers now feel like ghost towns. And here's the kicker. 10 major international airlines have quietly pulled out of the US market in less than a year. Yes, you heard that right. So what's happening? Why is the US losing its global appeal at such an alarming rate? The truth might just shock you. Stick around, because we're about to reveal the surprising reasons behind this dramatic shift. Number 1. Play Airlines. A quiet exit. Remember those $99 flights from Reykjavik to Boston? Play Airlines was the go-to for young European travelers. But now, every single route to the US is gone. No warning. No farewell. In March 2025, Play Airlines quietly pulled out of the US market. And just like that, travel from Northern Europe dropped by 60%. But why? The answer lies in a loss of trust. A survey by the European Travel Commission revealed 71% of Northern Europeans are now choosing Canada or Japan instead of the US. The reasons? Social instability, healthcare concerns, and unexpected costs. Surprised? Stick with me, there's more. Number 2. Air Canada and WestJet, a step back from the US. Now, let's talk about Air Canada and WestJet, two of Canada's largest airlines. In 2025, they cut 40% of their US routes, including major cities like New York, Orlando, and Las Vegas. For the first time ever, there are now more flights within Canada than to the US. Tour agencies reported a 53% drop in Canadian bookings to the US. Why? Rising costs, social instability, and an increasing sense of unwelcomeness. Canadians don't feel safe. They're flocking to places like British Columbia instead. Have you noticed fewer Canadian families heading to Florida? You're not imagining it. Number 3. Lufthansa, a shift eastward. Next, let's look at Lufthansa, Germany's flagship carrier. In 2025, Lufthansa began quietly pulling back from the US. Routes like Frankfurt to Chicago, Miami, and Atlanta, which had been running for over 40 years, disappeared. So, why the shift? It's simple. Asia. Lufthansa is pouring resources into booming Asian markets, with routes to Tokyo, Seoul, and Delhi being prioritized. The US no longer makes sense. Rising costs, complicated visas, and security issues have made flying to America less attractive. Lufthansa is betting on Asia instead. And guess what? They're not the only ones. Number 4. Air France. A bitter goodbye. Air France is next on the list. In early 2025, the airline scaled back 30 to 45% of its flights to the US. Iconic routes like Paris to New York and Miami? Gone. And it's not just the airline making this change. French passengers are backing out, too. Air France's data shows a significant decline in US-bound travel, while routes to Asia are booming. The reason? Flying into the US is no longer a luxury experience. It's a stressful gauntlet. Tight security, protests outside terminals, and expensive fees. Passengers no longer dream of New York. They're dreaming of Tokyo. Number 5. Jetstar, Australia's quiet exit. Here's one you might not expect. Jetstar, Australia's budget airline, has completely pulled out of US routes, including Los Angeles and Honolulu. The reason? Sky-high landing fees and frustrating visa processes. But the real kicker is the complaints from older Australian travelers about being treated like criminals at US immigration. Imagine being interrogated for hours just for visiting. For Australian travelers, this experience was the last straw. When Jetstar pulls out of US routes, it's not just about the lost ticket sales. It's about losing a loyal customer base that's known for being respectful, generous, and loyal. Number 6. JetBlue. Domestic retreat. It's not just international carriers. Even JetBlue, once the airline that promised to put passengers first, has started retreating from its domestic routes. In 2025, JetBlue cut 15 airports, including small ones like Syracuse and Worcester. Why? A 41% spike in fuel prices, labor shortages, and increasing violence and theft at airports. These cuts aren't just about missing a flight. They're about leaving entire communities disconnected. Businesses are losing access to new markets, seniors can't visit their families, and young people can't find better opportunities. What happens when entire states get left behind? Number 7. United Airlines, abandoning the heartland. And then there's United Airlines. In 2025, United announced it was cutting 30 domestic routes, mainly focusing on the Midwest, states like Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska, and Wisconsin. Over 1,200 flights canceled, affecting nearly 1 million passengers. These routes were staples for over 40 years. Now they're gone. Why? United is focusing all its resources on megacities, leaving smaller airports behind. The heart of America is being abandoned. It's not just about planes. It's about the breakdown of entire systems. When small towns can't reach the opportunities of big cities, that's when things fall apart. Number 8. Contour and Silver Airways, the final lifeline cuts. Now the most heartbreaking cuts, Contour Airlines and Silver Airways. These small, unflashy airlines were the only link between rural America and the rest of the world. But in 2025, they pulled out of 28 small towns across the South and Midwest. Why? Federal subsidies were rolled back, and it's just too costly to keep these routes going. Some towns are now 6 hours away from the nearest commercial airport, and for the people living in these places, it's not just about convenience, it's about survival. No quick access to jobs, healthcare, or even family. Number 9. British Airways, a silent exit. Let's talk about British Airways, which has quietly slashed flights to Newark and completely pulled out of Baltimore, two key U.S. gateways for British travelers. The reason? Sky-high airport fees and growing anxiety over social unrest. With protests and riots hitting major U.S. cities, British travelers are choosing more relaxed destinations like Tokyo or Madrid. What does it mean when even British travelers start rerouting? It's a huge signal that something is deeply wrong. Number 10. Singapore Airlines, the final straw. Finally, Singapore Airlines. In mid-2025, they suspended flights from Singapore to Seattle and Houston indefinitely. Instead, they ramped up flights to Europe, South Korea, and Japan. Why? Simple. Operating costs in the US are up 28% and profits are down 41%. Singaporean travelers, once flocking to the US for education and travel, are now choosing Canada, Japan, and New Zealand instead. It's not just the cost, it's the feeling of safety, of being welcomed, and that's something the US needs to get back. Conclusion. What does this all mean? The US travel industry is facing a massive decline. Airlines are quietly pulling out, not because they dislike the US, but because it no longer makes financial or practical sense to operate here. Rising costs, safety concerns, and a lack of trust are all contributing to this disturbing trend. But there's still hope. If the US can adapt, it can win back some of the travelers it's lost. But if it continues down this path, the US may no longer be the world's #1 destination. What do you think? Is this the beginning of the end of America's tourism dominance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out on more eye-opening content. The next video is just as shocking. Stay tuned.